Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Policy and Profits. I'm Anthony Esposito of Ascalon 6 Capital, coming to you once again without my good friend EJ Antoni as he embarks on his role leading the BLS at the request of President Trump. There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk for a while now about tariffs and what's going on with our trade deficit, what's going on with our trade partners, whether they be Canada and Mexico right on our border or around the globe. And it's interesting, as we move through this process, I'm seeing these federal judges within the United States actually attacking and pushing back against the United States. I don't know if everyone looks at it this way, but I do. I don't understand why we would have United States federal judges who were appointed, by the way, not elected by the people like our president, stepping up and trying to hurt policies that help Americans. And I'm not sure why that's being cheered on. There is something broken in the system here. And we do have a president who's not only battling foreign adversaries and partners, but he's battling domestic adversaries, which is kind of strange. I would implore everyone to start to think about things that way. It's not about Orange Man bad. It's about what's best for America, and is he doing what's best for America? And the answer is a resounding yes across the board. I've been a supporter of the tariffs. I've been a supporter of lowering our trade deficit for many reasons. First of all, it would bring manufacturing and job growth, real job growth, private GDP growth back to the United States, which we essentially have given away over the past 50 to 70 years. I also think it would help with the strength of the dollar and the inflation situation. We need those dollars to be in the United States and not deployed around the world in the form of trade deficits. Now, I'm supportive of the policy, and I've kind of gone through a few different interviews, a few different episodes, a few different papers about what the GDP and the export numbers are for individual countries. So what does the EU look like as a group? What does China look like? What does Mexico look like? What does Canada look like versus the US? All of them are surplus nations. And the US is the deficit nation across the board. We are the largest consumer. We are the largest economy in the world. And we pay the price because we've set ourselves up to. But I think something that's interesting, and it kind of comes to mind because I saw Lula calls for a September 8th meeting of the BRICS nations. Now, this was interesting because Lula, Brazil's president, which a lot of people don't realize, there is a BRICS alliance out there. So as I've been talking about individual countries, this kind of struck a chord, and I've spoken about the BRICS before. The BRICS alliance is a political and economic alliance, really, between emerging markets. So you have Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Originally, the alliance has grown from there. The goal of this group is to essentially retake or take control away from the developed economies, in particular the United States. So you have a group of countries here who we're dealing with either in military conflicts or economic conflicts, the tariff war. You have a group of countries that have formed in 2006 to actually kind of combine forces and take shots at the United States of America, whether it be to create new banking or new cross-border payment systems, or whether it be to completely eliminate the U.S. from trade. One way that they've moved forward in trying to kind of knock down the U.S. and take the strength and the leverage away from the U.S. has been a de-dollarization of global trade, global reserves. So we have one chart up which shows the dollar reserves as a percentage of foreign exchange reserves from 2000 through 2025. And as you can see, we normally like our charts going lower left to upper right. This chart's going upper left to lower right. So we were around 73% of all foreign exchange reserves in 2000 were in USD. We're now down around 58%. So why is this important? Well, it's important for the BRICS to do this because if they can de-dollarize the global financial system, they can take strength away from the United States. If the dollar is not the global reserve currency, then it removes our strength in trade. It removes our strength in financial markets. It removes our ability to sanction enemy states rather than put boots on the ground and have military action, i.e. what's going on in Russia, what's going on in Iran. It eliminates our power and our leverage. This has been a major, major effort by the BRICS to de-dollarize the economy of the world and to kind of bring strength away from the U.S. and kind of disperse it into their pockets. If we look at this chart, we can see what the effect has been. If you look at a couple of things, the BRICS countries have now started to implement, and I'm reading this to make sure I get these names right, the Cross-Border Payments Initiative and the Cross-Border Interbank Payment System. So they want these systems and these initiatives to actually eliminate systems like SWIFT and then eliminate the use of the dollar and start to use their currencies instead of the dollar. It's a dangerous thing. This is part of the 4D chess that President Trump is playing, as federal judges who were just appointed months ago are trying to stop him from battling for us and for our benefit on the global stage. If you look at the Russia and China, what have they done? They've started to increase their gold purchases, right? We see gold now. I have spot gold right now at 35.33. It's been a massive run up in gold. Why? Well, over the past year to year and a half, in particular the past year, there have been massive buyers of gold. Who's buying gold? China, Russia. The same nations that are aligned in the BRICS alliance, those are the same nations that are buying up gold. What does that do? It protects them against the dollar. I'll get to that the dollar quote in gold in a second. I think it's really important to take a look at this and to look at how much weakness or how much strength can be taken from the dollar if they were to really de-dollarize the economy. So is this possible? Can these BRICS nations actually take the strength to remove the dollar as the global reserve currency? Well, as of right now, we're still about 58% of all foreign exchange reserves. We can see that. As of right now, the U.S. economy is a $30 trillion economy, accounts for about 30% of global GDP. That's a plus. That gives us strength, still has leverage. We're losing leverage, but we still have leverage, right? So the battle's not lost, but we need to understand where the enemy is and exactly what's going on here. The other thing that's holding the dollar strong is items like gold, commodities, oil, nat gas, gold, all precious metals, all commodities are priced in the US dollar. Because of that, the dollar and dollar-denominated assets makes up about 50% of global GDP, right? So we're still in position here where the dollar is the global reserve currency. We're still in position where we are the largest economy in the world. And we're still in position where we have commodities priced in dollars and being circulated throughout the world. That's important. But the game's being played. And we need to understand that these tariff wars, these trade deficit wars are important. They're important for a number of reasons. And this is part of it. This is absolutely part of it. If you look at the BRICS nations, do they have the strength to actually overcome, to align, and to de-dollarize and dethrone the U.S. as the largest economy in the world? Well, maybe they do. If we look at the U.S. economy, as I said, $30 trillion economy annually and 30% of global GDP. Well, if we look at the BRICS expansion, and this was actually 23 to 24 because it's the most recent data that I can find. If we look at this BRICS expansion and we look through the companies, Brazil is a $2 trillion economy, Russia 1.8, India 3.4, China 18 trillion-ish, South Africa pretty small, Egypt pretty small. As we move through, Indonesia 1.4 trillion, we end up with an alliance with the BRICS nations at about, guess what, $30 trillion in GDP and about 30% of the global economy. So if you look at this battle between the BRICS nations and the United States of America, you have two pretty formidable opponents. You have a $30 trillion economy in the US, you have a $30 trillion economy in the BRICS. You have about 30% of global GDP in the US, you have about 30% of global GDP in the BRICS. Don't think for 1 second that everyone's playing nice. They're not. Don't think for 1 second that President Trump is not aware of this and his administration, Secretary Besson are not aware of this, and that this isn't levels and derivatives away from what the goal is. The goal is tariffs. The goal is to bring onshore investments, bring in dollars from tariffs, which we're doing, and start to reduce trade deficits and keep our US dollars here. Stop exporting our wealth. But there's also another challenge out there. There are challenges out there like the BRICS alliance, which people are not taking into account. So when we see federal judges start to block Trump's agenda, and we see people who need to go get a job and start raising families and paying taxes and normalizing themselves out protesting tariffs, protesting new trade deals, protesting whatever they can protest. If it's coming out of the White House these days, there's a protest. We need to realize that these people and these approaches and this resist, all they're resisting is the betterment of the United States of America. All they're hurting is our present, our children and grandchildren's future. There's a real battle going on here. And there are real opponents and enemies and adversaries fighting the battle. BRICS is one of those. And I think that President Trump is doing a good job of keeping all of this in mind, positioning us to win these battles. Remember, we're the largest economy in the world, right? We are the largest share of global GDP in the United States of America. Our markets are the deepest, thickest, most well-regulated markets in the world. Absolutely. But if we don't hold on to that and we don't fight for that and we don't stand up for ourselves and we continue to export our wealth, export our intellectual property, and give away what we've worked so hard as a nation to achieve, guess what? It'll go away. And at some point, we're going to find ourselves fighting on our back, which is not where we want to be. Nothing on the market today in particular or specifically. Wanted to touch on that. Wanted to touch on tariffs and so being supportive of policies that are supportive of ourselves, really. We're just trying to help ourselves. We're not looking to hurt anyone. It's not America only. It's just America first. Next episode, I will definitely be back with the market. A little bit of a down day today, but I have to say the S&P held a little better than expected. We're in a little bit of a churn up near all-time highs, and the coming week should be pretty telling. So watch 6,400 on the S&P cash. Essentially, ACAP signal aside, essentially a buyer above, a seller below. But it's getting a little dicey, a little interesting in the equity markets. That's it for today. Keep in mind, tariff, trade wars, trade deficits, US dollar, all real important, and it's not checkers. It's 4D chess. So let's be supportive. Let's look for the US to succeed. That's where we need to be. And that's where we're being positioned by the White House and this administration. This is Anthony Esposito. Thank you so much for joining me again for Policy and Profits. Look forward to speaking to everybody next week. Have a great week, and I will see you then.